All right, so hello everybody. Hello Andy.
Hey Steve, what's going on, buddy?
For those of you regulars, yeah, we're mixing it up a little bit. Andy took over some webinar duties last night, and so we're going to swap a little bit and renamed it Steve's Trading Studio for today only. We'll be back to normal schedule next week, but thanks having my longtime sidekick Andy with me makes the delivery of content much more understandable and easy for everybody. I think a two-man booth's better than a one-man booth just rambling on. So good to have Andy's help. Real quick disclaimer. We are not registered investment advisors. We're not soliciting investment advice. We are simply content providers showing you some really cool technology to help give you guys ideas for trading, thus the name Trade Ideas. So just a quick reminder, we're not brokers. If you're looking for personal financial information and suggestions, you really want to seek somebody who studied all those times and took all those tests to take care of that for you. Exceptional support and education. One of the reasons our growth has just been continued to be parabolic is the amount of webinars and live trading room that we call with Barry is open from bell to bell every single day. People go in there and have a couple questions, and what do you know, Barry is so multitasking efficient, he's able to pull away and answer the question, demonstrate it for you, maybe even drop a link in there to help share some of the strategies with you. Additionally, the people in there are really well behaved and well good at sharing knowledge and information. It's a great environment in there. You know, anybody that wants to come in there and make trouble is kicked out immediately. But it's a free service. It's a great way for people to at least try and come in and see what's going on with product and how it's being used in real time. Hundreds of people come in there every day. And then our webinars 4 days a week. And then last but not least, the one-on-one session. I get a lot of questions. Do you guys offer a free week trial? No, we have an open house 4 times a year, which just occurred. Our next open house will probably be sometime in early January. But besides those weeks that are available, you know, we don't have free trials for many reasons. But what I want to present to people, and I tell them, is, look, Scott's going to show you a great promo code at the end of the webinar here. Come in, kick the tires for 1 month, use the webinar code, and take full advantage of the one-on-one session. That means you get to desktop share with us and talk, just the two of us, and find out what is interesting to you, what are you looking for, how can we help configure this in the right direction, answer some questions you might have. And, you know, I had two sessions today, and both of them, it's so typical. Thank you so much. My learning curve just went parabolic. Thank you so much. This really helped me, you know, get in the right direction. So, point being, no, we don't have a 1 week free trial, but we have a great promo code, and we have 1 week of value-added attention we can give to you personally. And if after 30 days of all that you still, you know, don't think that this program is for you, well, then you don't have to renew. But that's really the value opportunity that we're offering. It's a great deal with the one-on-one. You know, please consider that. I don't have well, I could probably pull one over, but I forgot to include the Holly performance. It's the same old, but here is the link to our free training that I just spent a lot of time really touting. And actually, let me just go ahead real quick and just grab. It's just worth it to just at least take a look at the daily report of the AI. Another good day. I mean, it's been a pretty good couple weeks, and what's most interesting about that is the last couple weeks have been pretty difficult for the S&P. You can see the blue line starting to fade down, but you can see a continued separation with Holly and her aggregate point gain versus the S&P. So real pleased with this trajectory and the way things are going, and obviously real pleased with watching the market. When the market's having a rough day to the downside, Holly's demonstrating great discipline in doing some trades. So today's agenda is very similar. It's going to be pretty basic. I'm going to spend a little time, a good amount of time, I should say, on a new alert. Market recap to start with. We'll go through the AI trades today. Kind of a quiet day, and once again, risk off type of day. I'll explain that. And then let's just focus in on what's working. I've got a few things to show you about what's working, and try and help put together a new alert that I don't know if many of you have seen lately. It's part of the Wait for the 8 family, but it's a little different. and we'll get to that. And then once we build it, or once we look at it for what it is, we're going to back test it and optimize it, shave it down to its best possible returns, just like Hollywood do. And then once we've got that optimized, I'll go ahead and send that out and share it. But in the meantime, you're all going to have to at least have the U4, which is this price 15-minute candle, 8 SMA divided by price. This is our custom formula that is needed for all of the wait for the 8 family alerts. So let's just get right into it. We'll go to the market recap first. And by the way, those of you that are gearing up to maybe follow along on how I use the wait for the 8, I'll call your attention to the chat window. Hit the plus button and expand that. And what you'll see inside that chat window is the actual custom formula code. You guys are going to need to copy and paste this into your account if you have not already done so, and I will demonstrate that for you. So there's a running head start on it before anybody else asks for that code. Okay, market recap. Let's just zoom out and see what we got. Starting to get some interesting things happening. We talked last week about the clump range. Let me go ahead and just turn this one particular crosshair off and get rid of that because that is not really showing us anything. We busted right through that. That was that little gap right there, and we've closed below that. So essentially, this was the Clinton-Trump election range that Jamie so eloquently came up with the acronym CLUMP. I don't want to speculate too much, but there seems to be some momentum changing in the polls, and that may be some of the reason for some market decline here. We may not know, but we still have 3 trading days tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, before Wednesday opens up, and the country knows maybe who the new president is, hopefully. That's not going to be an issue like it was in 2000. But technically, that's what we're really focused on. Technically, we have broken. We have broken through this range again. So this range is no longer in play. We are now into this range. And breaking this gap here that I just deleted a moment ago, close below that, you know, there still is a lot of room to fall down here to a very obvious gap. And if we really back up and look at it in the bigger scheme of things, you know, it's not that much give back. There we go. Thank you very much. Compared to where we've come from for the last year and a half, 2 years, it's been a lot of volatility and then a lot of sideways action. But this level has been a very important level. If we zoom in again, we can see some support here, and then the gap here. This could be a medium-sized downward target for the price action if we don't continue. You know, I'd like to mention, for those of you who come into the live trading room every day, we've got a great female trader in there, Jane, who's just a natural, and she's catching on real quick, Airplane Jane. And she's made some comments recently, which I think was very veteran-like for somebody who's only been trading for just a little bit less than a year. And that she noticed back here, her long setups and stuff that was working no longer was working. And so she's done a great job of telegraphing, blogging, and discussing how she's been flipping a lot of her alerts upside down and focusing more on short setups now. And she's doing a great job of demonstrating some good short setups in the live trading room. So if you're not in the live trading room, you're missing that kind of that kind of back and forth. So the winds are changing here, guys. We're breaking down. The footprints are not holding where they used to. Those last-minute, late-day buyers that used to pop in here and come in, well, they're not showing up anymore, and it's quite interesting. So we're in kind of a big range here again, once in the no man's land, and the only thing I see really below, you know, maybe this level right here, but there's really not much going on at that level. There's more of an interest down here in this gap. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Andy?
Oh, yeah, I've been feeling kind of bearish for a while, and I think you guys would agree with some of the comments I've been making, some of the warning signs I've been pointing out in the alerts. That's the one thing great about this product. You know, it not only can find you, you know, great trades on an intraday level, but can also kind of tip the, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of show you where the market may be heading. Thank you. Tip the scales a little bit, and with the, if you're running enough alerts, and I think I mentioned the volume doesn't lie, how that was kind of changing, and how Holly especially is putting on so many more alerts, and not just the last few days. This has been going on for you know, about a couple of weeks now with Holly. I'm noticing a lot more alerts. And it's funny that you mentioned that, Steve, about Jane, because I had a session today, and I pulled it up, and he already had alerts, pretty much working and running. And I looked over there, and he had just two strategies. And I looked at it, and I said, "What are you looking for here?" And he goes, "I'm looking for running up stuff." I said, "Oh, you're a momentum trader?" He goes, "No, to fade it." And I'm thinking, brilliant. I mean, it really is, because I mean, it's kind of a contrarian play, but if you know what you're looking for, that's the kind of stuff that can work. Because let's face it, Steve and I have been doing this for a long time, about 18 years. We've been through bear markets, and we've been lots of them in bull markets, and when you've been, I know a lot of people in here have never even seen a bear market. I mean, this is the second longest bull run we've had, a bull market in history. So you really do, have to flip the hat and come up with some different strategies. And that's and a lot of it is fading strategies. That's why I love when Holly, in this down tape I showed yesterday in the webinar, she was fading stocks, going into resistance, and that's the kind of strategy. Bear markets are really tough because it's hard to chase momentum on downside a lot of times, because the up spikes can be really brutal. So, I mean, I tell a lot of people, pull back the sides and sit in trades longer, because you will eventually get big moves down in bear market, but you have to be able to withstand the whipsaw back up as the shorts cover and new bulls come into trades.
I'm going to break with tradition a little bit here. I want to talk about distribution. Distribution is a concept of stocks, markets, indexes. As they get near their highs and start to chop around, you have some of the bigger funds using certain days to get out, to lighten up distribution from the bigger funds to somebody else, distributing what was once theirs to somebody else. Well, there's some footprints in the sand, and it's kind of hard to see on the volume bars here. So I'm going to break tradition just a little bit until we get our volume bars looking better. I want to show you something. Red volume bar means down day, right? So let's take a look here. Ooh, that was a red day, big spike in volume. When's our next big volume spike? Here's our next big volume spike. Oh, look, that's a red bar as well. Here's another big red volume bar spike. That's a red volume spike. Then we get some green down here, which is basically just kind of bringing the price back up. But then we get a red spike again on a down candle. We get more red spikes. So what I'm showing you here is every red spike in these volume spikes, they're color coding them red because these are the down days. So it's not too hard to see that from here over to here, the distribution has been on the down days, increase in volume and a decrease in price. When you start to see these kinds of things near tops, this is the kind of stuff that people start to talk about as distribution, just a little easier to see than it was on this particular chart. Now the Qs, again, we're trying to lead earlier, but they're not. They have fallen dramatically since they looked like they were trying to be leadership role. So big fall from grace for the technology. Obviously, we may see some support come in here. Pretty easy to see that. There's a gap. There's some support there. Q's probably downturn target could be something like that. IWM, interestingly enough, has been creeping lower, much lower than the average indexes, but it's actually kind of filled a gap here and a resistance level here. So Q's and WM might be close to a possible level of support, but I'm just not seeing that so much yet for the spiders. Maybe there could be a case to be made right here at these two wicks and these two levels, but we'll see. Keeping in the same vein of things that start to show up, that show the winds of change, like Andy was saying, the fading of the bounces, and I was just showing you distribution in the SPY near the highs, showing big spikes on down days. There's other little things we can glean. Washout bounce. I don't have any of these today. That's kind of unusual. Trend change lubricant to the upside. My cupboard's bare. I don't have anything. But when I go to the flipped trend change lubricant, oh boy, it's just one big party. So, here is another indication when you've got two different types of directional alerts that look for the same thing, one long and one short. I can kind of see where the bias is at the moment. I'll come back to this. I may have a few stock setups that we might get to on that, but I wanted to quickly highlight, again, some of the little cues and tells that can pop up, whether it's distribution or what was once working is not working. Hearing people complaining in the chat room, or in Jane's case, commending herself for recognizing change and acting on that change. That's one of the most important things that's going to keep you as a trader in the game, is understanding when the winds of change come and how and when to pull the trigger on what to do next when things are not working. All right, so let's go to the AI recap. I know there's some new people in here, so just real quick, this is our AI window, the parent window. It showed today that Holly exiting and entering on her exits and entrances, we call those risk off. Risk on would be if you took Holly's entrance and then stayed and carried it into the close. Well, today was not exactly a risk on type of day. It was definitely a risk off, and $1.40 was pulled in, by getting in and getting out on the recommendations of Holly during the day. This main window up here is our parent window. This is where it all starts. So this is like, in a sense, the starting lineup bench for a team. And hey, that's my bike. Did not get a trade today, but looks like everything else actually got a trade. And some of them had some decent trades. This one had 2 trades, not too great. This one had 5 trades, not too great. But I want to highlight something for you. Let's just double click here. And we can see when we come into the day, if I double click on the scoring, we can see that today the 2 top strategies were short. So that was kind of interesting. The short directional strategies tested the best last night. Headwind kind of popped in there, and I like that one. That's what Andy was talking about earlier, when you see a stock in a bear market shooting up and the AI says, nope, we're going to go ahead and fade that right here. We're going to fade that as an entry and hope to go short. So headwind, let's just take a look at the headwinds. I don't know if they had a decent day or not. Actually, I need to look at the actual trades, so we'll get to that. Headwind number 1 was basically getting short right here, fading the up move, and a little bit of alpha back to the downside did work. Headwind number 2, just to show you, NTRI looks like it was bouncing up, and then it was this candle right here, and so there was an entry taken there. A little bit of pain, but it did roll back over. But what I really want to focus on is wait for the 8, because that's the theme for today. What is working? This wait for the 8 thing has been working really well, and a little bit of background on it. Andy and I used to run Trading Room, and we did a lot of YouTube videos, and we talked a lot about setups that came out of the gate strong. Let's go ahead and just go right into win here on the downside. Definitely coming out of the gate strong to the downside, so weak if you want to call it that. But then it catches a level of where it thinks it might want to consolidate. And then what happens is, what you don't see on here are moving averages. And the faster line moving average is like a 10 period or an 8 period. Once those moving averages catch up to the price, that's usually the guiding hand that continues to push the price in the same direction. So when we say wait for the 8, what's really happening here is these are stocks and we've got them up and down. So the wait for the 8 short is the example I'm setting at the moment. This is a classic example of push down, consolidate, and what's happening is the moving average is coming down quickly and catching the price right here, and then that's the trigger to send the alert out, and then hopefully some continued lower momentum. Beautiful example of wait for the 8 to the downside. And if we take a look at the daily chart, we could see that not only was it working on the intraday, we were actually starting to break down. This line right here on the daily chart, surprisingly enough, is this congestion level right here. So everything is kind of correlated. That's why we say look left a lot. And the ones that broke down through there was some nice alpha. On the wait for the 8 on the other one, let's take a look at GPS. Okay, once again, a downside alert. Stock gap down, slammed, sideways action, obviously a certain reason for a level, which, well, let's take a look at the daily chart. Yep, there's our level right there, just kind of holding on to these levels. But once the 15-minute 8 SMA caught it right here, a little bit of a hiccup, a little bit of a bounce, but then it slammed back down and it had a really nice move lower. So for those of you who have been following Holly for the last couple of weeks, you probably realize wait for the 8 has come in every day, usually the leader, testing in the 70s or the low 80% win percentage. This thing has been really doing well, and if it shows up on Holly as a statistically probable scenario, then we know it must be good. Now, we've talked a lot about wait for the 8 short. We've got Holly wait for the 8. We've even talked about wait for the 8 long. Let's take a look at this one today. Interesting. Same scenario, okay, but let's just flip it upside down. Big blast on the open, some consolidation, but what's happening is the fast moving line of the 8 moving average is coming up to catch the price, and then as soon as it catches the price, that's the level at which we get a trigger and nice follow through to the long side using wait for the 8. So this thing is working decently on both sides of the aisle, long or short. Now I want to show you guys something new, a little bit of a new twist. One of my favorite setups is when the stock actually does gap up and not run up, but an actual gap up and then wait for the 8 to move. And usually in the first half an hour of the day, we can get some pretty interesting setups. And I want to show you a couple here. XPO. Okay, here's our gap up, and XPO came out at 640, 34.14. So 34.14, not a bad call right about here. It exploded, and then the price actually did come back a little bit, but once the 8-period moving average joined it, it forced the hand higher. And again, I like these ones earlier in the day, and I'll show you why as we back test it. The next one, LDOS, right after 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Oh my God, look at this. This is a nice one, 43.31. So basically that candle right about here was our entry for the day. So once again, gapping up, consolidating, waiting for the 8 period, and then continuation pattern. Are they all going to work this well? No, they're not, but we've got to learn how to manage the ones that don't work. And we're also going to go through and optimize this. We're going to clean this up together to try and get less of these coming through and optimize it. But you could see for the rest of the day, this thing had some really nice alpha juice on that one. Another one that I liked earlier in the morning was MSCC, which came a little bit later. Where is that one? MSCC came around 8 o'clock. Okay, so this one's almost actually a horseshoe, kind of a gap up, a pullback, and the price starts to move up, but before you know it, the 8 moving average on a 15-minute chart is catching up to the price. And what are we calling this one? 47.18. So basically this one was marked up right about here. So you can see whether we're going long or we're going short, this 8-period moving average on a 15-minute chart is starting to show some interesting stuff. But what I want to do is clean this up a little bit. I wanted to show you some good examples, but I want to clean this up. There's a lot of duplicates in here, and as it gets towards the end of the day, they don't work as well. Let's just grab one randomly towards the end of the day, not much alpha. So I focus more on these in the early morning. So let's take it a step further now. What do we want to do first? I guess let's go ahead and optimize it first, and then before I share it, I need to remember, and Andy can help me remind me, to show you guys how to go into your account and load in the custom formula that's needed, which is, by the way, custom formula U4. What U4 is that code that I dropped in the chat window. And if we're going to take a look at U4, the SMA 15 minutes, we're basically saying we want it to be hugging that line. It can't be more than 0.05% above, and it can't be more than 0.05% below. So pretty much close to kissing the price action is what we're doing with this little bracket here. But you've got to have this custom formula going forward. So let's back test this thing and get a feel for how we can improve it. Then I'll show you guys how you can get that custom formula to make this thing work. So as always, any A window has a price and time stamp. As long as we have a time stamp and a price stamp, those are the 2 data points that we need to back test, and what Holly does as well to do her thing. So let's right-click back test. Let's just start it, open it up at the open of the day and close of the day. Time to exit. Let's go ahead and just maybe try, a 30-minute, maybe even 45 minutes, not get too aggressive. Risk management, we use a 1% risk management, and we could even enable, like, say, a 4% target if we wanted to, risk 1 to make 4, something simple like that. Advanced, no trailing stops. We're just going to test all the way back, 3 calendar months, see what we get. So let's simulate buy and hope that it goes quickly. because this is what our base strategy is going to be. There's not a whole, well, there's some filtering going on in here, but there's not a whole lot of optimization yet, and that's what I really want to do for the people who haven't really seen optimization before. All right, 99%, here we are. Okay, so what do we have to start with? Well, we've got something good that's making our account grow from the lower left to the upper right, so we actually have trades that are working, but we've got 700 trades and barely 49%. Okay, we need to get that a little higher. Profit factor 1.45, we need to get that about at least to 2 or higher. So if you haven't seen the optimization drill before, we're going to go through it right now for a couple minutes. We basically tap that optimization tab, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to break our price intervals down to maybe $10 intervals. Okay, and what do we notice? We notice that as we get above $89, the heat map starts to decay. So the sweet spot of this particular strategy lies on stocks between 0 and $89. So what we do is we change the configurations directly from this chart. Right click, set minimum value to 0, setting it for me at 0, set maximum value at 89, maximum value at 89. Okay, there's our new price range, 0 to 89, based on what the data is showing us. What about time of day? Let's break this down into maybe 15-minute intervals. Okay, let me try 30-minute intervals. That's probably a little easier to see. Okay, so what I'm noticing is the first half hour of the day, and again, it makes sense. You know, these stocks need to blast out of the gate. They need to consolidate and wait for the 8. So we're probably not going to get very many good signals in the first half hour. So let's forget that. So going forward, we know that we want to run this thing probably 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific is a good start time, and then take it all the way down to 9:59 or 10 o'clock. So in reality, this is showing us that this strategy is really only good for about a 3-hour window. Okay, so going forward, we're only going to run this thing from 7 to 10 o'clock. Well, I want to make some more changes, and I have to make some more changes using other filters. So let's take a look here. Let's see if we can figure out anything of interest, like the average, where are we? 15-minute range. Okay, so what's the 15-minute range of these stocks? If a stock is ranging more than 4% or 15 minutes, 5, 6, 7%, we're not returning very much here. So it looks like we need to cap our 15-minute range filter at 197 and make this the minimum and that the maximum. So we'll just right-click and make that the maximum, set our maximum value of the 15-minute range at almost 4%. Okay, that's taken care of. What else can we look at here? Average daily volume, not a lot really to look at there. Average true range, well, this is interesting. Average true range measures, you know, the distance between the high and the low every day. So it looks like anything above 4.99% is returning junk. So let's go ahead and make that our maximum value. Okay, that's set. What else can we look at? How about gap? The gaps themselves, are they doing anything of interest? Let's bring these down to something more interesting, like 2%. Okay, when I go to 2% intervals, I'm starting to see that anything that's gapping up over, you know, 17% probably isn't returning more than we want. So let's make our maximum gap 17%. What I'm doing here, guys, is what Holly does about 1,000 times faster than a human could ever do. But going through and looking at all these things. What about daily RSI? Is there anything to be derived from RSI? Yes, there is. Why, look, I think a minimum RSI of 30 is probably warranted based on that heat map, so we'll make the minimum 30. Okay, maximum is probably going to be 79 here because above that we're getting some reds, so let's make that the maximum. Okay, I could go on and I could go on, but you guys kind of get the picture. So I've manipulated about 5 different filters. We've also changed the time of day of which we want to run it. Let's go back and remind ourselves the time of day we want to run. We're going to go from 7 to 10 o'clock. Go ahead and run it again with all of our new settings in here. 7 and stop at 10. Okay, everything else is configured from the configuration that I was doing, so all we have to do now is just run this thing again. Come on, Steve, I can use my arrows, but okay, simulate buy. Let's see if we can improve this sucker. Okay, we're getting there. All right, we took 700 trades down to 450 trades. Now we're over 54%. We had a profit factor of 1.4. Now it's at 1.97. So, I mean, there's probably some more work that could be done, but I'm just going to leave it at that just to show you guys that, you know, there could be some more work, but there's one more filter that we want to do here. And that, since we know what the time of day is that this thing works best, we can add that to our filter. So what we do is we would just go configure, all right? You've got to go to our search, time of day. This allows us to only show the alerts when we want to see them. So we'll add our filter time of day. Minutes after open is our values. So let's do 30 minutes after the open, which is my 7 o'clock Pacific. And then that would be 30 plus 180, that would be 210 minutes after the open. We want to stop seeing these alerts. So that is going to be my final version for the moment on my Wait for the 8 gap edition. So I would like to share that, but first, before we do that, we're going to have to take a look at how to make the custom formulas work for you guys. So let me grab where was I? This guy. Okay. All right, what you need to do is go to TradeIdeas.com, go to the account management section. It's under support, account management, and then custom formulas. This is our custom formula page. As you can see, I'm not logged in yet, so you need to log in. And then once you've logged in, you have the ability to create a new alert. Now, I've already created the U4, and what you guys need to do is you need to assign this to U4. So you would start by going U4, let's pretend that's U4, create new, and then you're going to want to cut and paste that that formula that I dropped into the chat window earlier into here. And then, how come I can't? Oh, there we go. Let me grab that formula just so you guys can really see everything in its entirety. We'd pop that in there like that. We would say 8 SMA on a 15-minute candle, just something similar like that. The units are going to be percent. And then you'd hit save. And then once you've hit save, you know, you should be having right here in your screen U4 and have it look just like that. So once you've got the U4 into your personal account, you always have it. Anytime you want to go and look for it in a configuration window, just go to search, scroll to the bottom, and that's where all your U settings are. There it is right there, U4, 8 SMA candle. And I've already shown you what we've done with that SMA candle, making sure that it's no more than 0.05% on either side of the 8 period. So as long as you did what I just did in your own account, you've got this U4 filter in your account, you're able to receive this cloud link that I'm going to go ahead and drop in now, because this thing has just been spitting out some good stuff lately. All right, this is the one. So I'm going to collaborate, save and share to cloud, copy all, and I'm dropping this directly into the chat window. And for those of you that want it, it's there. The formula is also in the chat window. The cloud link's in the chat window, but you've got to make sure you get that custom formula. Please try and do it yourself, but I understand it can be tricky. And you know, if somebody tries a few times and you just can't get it, you know, go ahead and feel free to email me, and I can drop it in your account. But it's always a good exercise to try and press the buttons and do this stuff yourself. So that is kind of what's been working. Based on Holly, the Wait for the 8 shorts, the Wait for the 8 to the longs, those have been working. What's not working are some of these longer ones, the washout bounce to the upside. I don't have anything there. Horseshoe up, don't have anything there. But we do have this giant list here of these stocks that may want to roll over. Now, there's two ways you can use this flipped trend change lubricant. This is the one that's, trying to identify stocks that are up on the year but are rolling over. But again, like I said, there's a couple different ways you can use this. You can use this to try and find some short strategies, or you can also use this to try and find, some long strategies. Well, CWB might be, as you can see, you probably wouldn't want to short after it broke down this level and chasing. But what I'll do sometimes is use this particular alert to find some pullback alerts for me. A little bit of a gap down here, so I'll be watching this level for CWB for a possible bounce. Wouldn't have got it unless I saw it on here. Yahoo is very close. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. There's my active alert set in that one. We're actually getting very close to tagging that one. But if the market doesn't change, these things won't bounce. These things will just bounce right through like butter. So if that's the case and the market doesn't change and we continue to go lower, then you want to start looking for something like a BWP. This one has not broken yet, and basically it's support, coming very close to support. So this would be one that I would actually try and line up for a short setup on a trend break on that one. So I'll go ahead and set an alert on that one. So there's a couple different ways in which you can use that. But again, boy, the main takeaway is this thing's been empty for a long time, but for the last week or two it's been full. And my opposite trend change lubricant long, the cupboard's been pretty bare on that one. So interesting dynamics in terms of how we see what's being populated in our alerts. You got anything you've been sitting on you want to add to over there, Andy? On mute?
Yeah, sorry, Steve. I couldn't get the mute button unpressed.
No big deal.
Something came up to my attention when you were talking about, and it was another session that I had today where somebody was talking about AI, and he's like, he goes like, man, it spits out a lot of trades, and I was explaining to him, AI, it's idea generation. You have to look at it almost like an alert, okay, until it's automated, which I'll leave that for another webinar, but so he's like, is there any way to filter this stuff? And I said, yeah. I said, it's great that you brought that up, because what's working right now, and like I talked about in the last two webinars, a lot of shorts are working. So guys, there is a way, if you want to focus in, like wait for the 8, look at that winning percentage and that profit factor. Headwind, look at that winning percentage and profit factor. So if you feel like you just want to kind of focus in on what's working the best, you might want to consider, you can go to the all trades there and the strategies, and you can choose what alerts you want to see coming through there. And if Steve will show you there, you can put check on whatever you want, wait for the 8, there's headwind, and boom. So you can, in essence, filter this. You can't filter it for price and volume and all that like you do in your alerts, but this is a great little tool if you just want to see, strategies that you're really interested in and focused in. And just wanted to point that out because I know a lot of people don't know that you can do that, but you can choose the strategies you like. The formula in the chat, that's the first thing you put in there, wasn't it? That formula?
Yeah, it was the first thing I put in there. Let me just take a look at the chat window. Let me just expand it here. Yeah, at the very, very top, you'll see at 159 it says ABS, price SMA. That is the custom formula that you need to put into your account that I showed you where you log into Trade Ideas on this particular page. Oops, I brought the page back. Your account management page. You need to log into your account management, and then you'll be able to have access to custom formulas. And this is where you can add these formulas. And somebody else asked, well, will it work if I don't have the U4? No, it's not going to work as well if you don't have the U4, because that's really the secret sauce, is the 8-period moving average on a 15-minute chart. That's what this is expressing. It's expressing in percent form how to identify on a 15-minute chart where the 8 SMA is. If you don't have this one configured in the final configuration, the whole strategy just will not work, and it'll be confusing. Somebody else asked if I could drop the wait for the 8 short. I went ahead and did that in there too. So that's the latest one that's in the cloud link. somebody's asking for, is this going to work in the E-Trade strategy scanner? If the E-Trade strategy scanner has the ability to absorb cloud links, then yes, it should. If it doesn't, if you're having any problems, you can address us at info@trade-ideas, and we'll certainly try to help you. Let's see. Can I filter short only? Yes, you can, Gary. Good question. Can you filter short only? So, filter all long strategies, all short strategies. You can do that.
There you go.
All right, so not a problem. So what Andy's saying is, if you just want to keep it simple and come in and say, who are the top 3 guys here? All right, I'm going to take these guys, 70%, 77%, and 83% win percentage. I'm going to suppress everything else, or just by doing it, by checking these 3 strategies, so that when they come through, I don't have as much noise to filter through. That's why we put that in there for people to try and make that as simple as possible for what they do or don't want to see.
Absolutely. Just remember, all it takes is one good trade. I think Barry mentions this all the time. So don't feel like you have to have all these different filters and have your eyes everywhere. If you just focus on a few things, and AI can't think of anything as good to focus on right now, just looking at her results lately. And just if you're having a hard time, feel like it's spitting out too many alerts right now, hone in and focus on the ones you want to focus on, and like I said, get one good trade like the couple he showed you there with the win and the GPS. Boy, you could have traded those 2 and really done well today.
Mm-hmm. Somebody mentioned that they still don't see it. It's in the chat window, so I duplicated it. I dropped it in here again 2 minutes ago, the ABS price custom formula. It may be that if you came late, it didn't show up in the chat window, so I've dropped it in there again. And again, I'm happy to help somebody if they can't figure it out on their own, but at least give it a try. But if you can't figure it out, I want to make sure you've got it correct. You can email me, steve@trade-ideas.com, and I can drop it into your account directly. Does it work with Thinkorswim? The only thing that's going to work with Thinkorswim, and even then we're having a bit of an API bug with it, is the external linking. We can link to 90% of the things outside there by double-clicking inside of Trade Ideas. If you have another program or platform or charting program or E-Trade or Schwab or whatever, ideally you can get the charts in the order entry window to update just by a single double-click. But that goes through our tools, which is the external linking function you bring up as such. Add link, and then it's basically the wizard right here. All you got to do is follow these directions. You basically highlight the mouse over the window you want, then hit the shift key, and Trade Ideas is smart enough to know where the shift mouse key is hovering over and should connect the API to what it is you're trying to link to. Is this webinar recorded? Yes, it will be recorded, but give it 24 hours. Usually takes time to compress, and then we'll get it uploaded. Tell me again. Okay, now let me just tell you one of the buggy things about the external linking. The first thing, if it's not working for you, what you need to do is you need to run the program, Thinkorswim or eSignal or whatever you do. You need to run it as administrator, and the way you do that is when you launch Trade Ideas or anything else from your desktop, you right-click on the icon, and instead of clicking Open, or instead of double-clicking it, right-click on the icon and then click Run as Administrator. And that seems to work out about 90% of the bugs. If somebody's having an external linking bug, run both programs as administrator, and that usually help you out. So
and that's something you do each day as you open up each platform?
You got to do it each day. You got to reassign it each day. So normally, guys, we end these webinars by giving out some trades and some ideas on some filters and some setups and some triggers. I really don't have any, and rather than trying to force something, to get out to you, I thought it was just better to spend some time on what is working. AI says, wait for the 8 is working. My eyeballs are telling me wait for the 8 is working, both to the upside and the downside. So real happy with this configuration and happy to share that with you today. So unless you've got anything else, Andy, I'm ready to turn it over to Scott and let him give people some promo codes and maybe try us out for a month and take advantage of the 1 hour one-on-one session and I bet you in 30 days you'll find out that you actually do want to renew, and you're going to find a lot of value in this thing.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Steve. Yeah, I would bring Scott in and show him what kind of a deal they can get on it.
You know, trade of the week. We can discuss trade of the week. 2 weeks ago, the trade of the week was Yelp, and it was a double dip that basically found its way into earnings and had a really nice pop off of earnings. So if anybody was in Yelp, definitely a gift on the upside gap. Those are usually when you want to try and take some dollars off. Worked out there. Vonage, not working so well. The entry price was here. The stock price is going to be down just below. I believe it's going to be like 607. So it's flirting with it. But guys, look at the backdrop of the market.
Yes.
There's really not much else that's ripping to new highs. It's been a difficult market last few weeks if you're trying to only go long. And the trade of the week looks to try and go long. We tried to find some decent entries. The entry we were happy with was a nice pullback entry to the breakout here. But, you know, the last 3 days in the market, look at the S&P and the Qs. It's just been kind of caught up in the downdraft.
Yeah.
So we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. We can't let these things go. The worst thing you can do as a trader is what we used to call albatross. Get an albatross across your neck. Come in every day and watch the stock you've been holding for 3 weeks. It's been underwater, and each day you hope it's going to bounce and go higher, but what you don't realize is it's opportunity cost. It's keeping you from having a fresh, open, positive mind and finding new opportunities. Instead, you're just sitting there looking at your albatross, wishing and wondering why it won't bounce. So fish or cut bait is a great analogy in trading. When they don't work, you just got to adhere to your downside and onward.
Yes, and another thing, if you go back to Yelp there, Steve, I know a lot of people have a tendency, hey man, that's a nice gap up, and it was a great gap up in Yelp. But when I'm swing trading, you know, my rule is market first, you know, stock second. I mean, because I really, so in this bearish tape that we have, and let's face it, it's been pretty bearish. We're setting records to the downside that we haven't seen in several years. Consecutive days, I should say, downside. So when you get a gift like that, yeah, you know, and normally in a bull market I would take half off, but in this kind of market I'm taking, you know, 75% of it off at least, you know, and then keeping a real tight leash on the other 25%. It's bearish tape.
Somebody's asking for wait for the 8 again. If you came late, you know, it's possible you missed it. I'll go ahead and drop it in there one more time in the chat window. Paste. There you go. All right, guys. That's what we got for you today. This is going to be a very interesting next week of trading. A lot of volatility based off of our elections. Fasten your seatbelts. It could get kind of interesting, which means fasten your seatbelts and cut your size, like Andy said. Cut your size. There's only a few things you can control. That's your attitude and your share size. Everything else is up to the market. All right, Scott, let them know how they can save some money on a 1 week, 1 month trial.
Yeah, well, they can get their first month 15% off, or their first year 15% off. There's a code for that. So you can also go to your handouts panel on your GoToWebinar interface, click on the plus sign to expand it, and there's a PDF download waiting there for you. Just go ahead and download that. It'll remind you about this. Steve's going to show you the slide too. But when you use the code GETALPHA, all caps, and you get an instant 15% savings off your first month or your first year of premium, or 10% off your first month or year of standard. So it's a great way to try out trade ideas. If you're kind of unsure, just get the first month of premium or standard and sign up for the training. So as soon as you sign up, go to support and find that training link, and then sign up for the best time for you with either Steve, Andy, or Jamie. And they'll give you a great head start. It's a great value considering that you get a full hour of one-on-one training plus all the good stuff just for that price less that discount. So the difference between premium and standard primarily is the AI, unlimited backtesting, and advanced windows like our price alerts and red bar ignore, green bar ignore windows. It's a great value considering that anything that there's nothing that really approaches this, but if you consider something like a Bloomberg terminal, that's about $3,500 a month or more. Trade Ideas has the artificial intelligence technology and really sophisticated event-based backtesting, in addition to all the real-time data and data points like our unstructured unstructured data along with fundamental and technical data that's pretty much unparalleled. So go ahead and just sign up, give it a shot. TradeIdeas.com/price. Use the Get Alpha code. We have had amazing subscriber growth since the launch of the AI, so just check it out. You won't believe it. If you have questions, just contact us. info@trade-ideas.com is the best place to send technical questions. Or you can follow Steve Gomez at Today Trader on Twitter, QuantBot's Jamie Hodge. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro, and we post some different content there occasionally. And the 619 phone number is great during normal operating hours on the West Coast. If you have any kind of subscription or billing issues that need to be addressed, you can go ahead and try us there too. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Andy. Have a great weekend, and we'll see everyone in the next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Bye.
Thank you.